we will have that going on. So this is our 2021 Academic Coordinator and Coaches session for the 25th, I think it's 25th Annual Capital Conference. Thanks for being here. We have lots of things to cover today. I'm going to sort of go back and forth. I'm going to kind of give you a quick overview. I'm going to try to, then we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that is changing this year, or new things or things we want to talk about. So things that you'll be aware of. Then we'll go into some general sort of coordinator information. I'm trying to not do this. If you're brand new, you're going to, we may be a little advanced for you this session, but in October, I think sometime early fall, as soon as we kind of get some of the newer coordinators located, I will have a brand new Coordinators 101 session that we'll do Zoom wise, so that we can hopefully catch everybody and get some stuff going on there. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and feel free to throw your questions in the chat box, and we will see what happens. So let's talk about this past year, which is, I guess, sort of the elephant in the room. We hope we never have to repeat this past year ever again. If we ever do, we'll be better prepared for the next pandemic. But I love this quote from this author who I just think it's fantastic. So there are a lot of things that we want to rejoice in. We got to do a state championship in every single event. None of our events look the same as they typically do. We hope that that isn't forever and always, of course. So, but there are a lot of things that we think we tried and did that I hope that can stick around. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the session. But my main thing is all of you who stuck with it and tried and motivated those kids and motivated yourselves and all of those things, you're to be commended for that. There were many times that we just didn't know what we were going to do. And I would talk to one of you, or we would have a group. I'd see you on a session, and you really just invigorated me and the academic staff as to what we needed to do to keep moving forward. So that's where we are and why we're here. And hopefully we will take some things and learn from this year, apply them, and keep on going. But we hope to have more normal, I guess, or back to regular type things we were doing. And I just wanted to share my appreciation to all of you for all that you did this year to make it make this year possible. Let's talk about some overall duties of a coordinator. So your primary role is to be a liaison, to give the information, to share the news, to remind deadlines, to talk to your administrators, to know when things are coming up. That's really the primary goal and the role that you have as coordinator. One of the things I always people say, what should I do? Well, your best thing you want to do is get organized, get your calendar together, put some group emails together. If you put things in folders, whether on your computer or in a notebook or however you keep things, get all that stuff going so that you know what's coming up, so that you can get yourself organized in whatever way works best for you. One of the greatest things I think that you do as a coordinator is you're a team leader. It's all about motivating those students and motivating those coaches and being a cheerleader. And you're going to be doing a lot of things with those your colleagues. And I always say, those little bite-sized Snicker bars, you can always just stick one of those with a Post-it note on it and say, thanks for being an academic coach. Anything you can do to cheer people up and keep them going, that's the main thing that you do in getting the word out as to what's going on and what's happening. And the main thing is communicate with your colleagues, communicate with your administration, the students, the school, the community. A lot of people always say, what can I do? What's the best thing I can do to get people excited about academics and doing everything that we do? And that's you telling a great story and telling all the great things that happen. My favorite thing to tell people, and I use it every year I teach, I get a chance to talk to coordinators, is tell everyone about all of the great things that are happening. Tell them all the good things. Show up and be great. And you're not everything's going to be wonderful. One of the things I tell people at student activities conferences is don't talk about the 2 kids who left the group and went to the student union and had breakfast all day long. Talk about the other 38 kids who went to sessions all day long and how wonderful it was. Because those are the kids you're focusing on and that you're there for, and it'll be great. So just communicate with all those people, tell a great story, and make it fantastic. And that's really what you're doing as a coordinator, a lot of the basic duties that you're doing. So we're also going to be here for you and help you along. We got a whole network of people. I saw 85 people are on this call. Look at all these people that you can, 86 now, that you can communicate with and talk to. They're doing the same thing as you are. We have some really experienced people on this call. We have some brand new people on this call. So together, we're going to get through it all and make it great. The very first thing we're going to ask you to do is register. Now, you have to do this every year because we have to clear the database. And so we really want you as the coordinator, we want your information. But if you have your coach's information, put that in there too, their emails, their names, and put all of those people in there. There's a lot of you who aren't going to know who your coaches are next year, or maybe you don't have all of those selected for the following year, and it may be in the fall. So you don't have to register right this moment. Just remember to do it and get that done at least the beginning of the year. If you have people that you know who are coaching now and you want to add somebody later, you can do that. Just email us, please add so-and-so as my calculator coach, and we will put them in the database. There's no need for you to go back and complete the whole process over, but this is how we communicate with you. This is how we get information out to you. And also, if your coaches are on there, we'll put them on our academic e-news list. And sometimes we just need to we just need to contact accounting coaches or get something out specific to them. So this is how we get that information. So register, it's there on our academic homepage. If I show you here, if you go to academics and drop down just the academic homes, you're going to see the high school registration link over on the other side. If you happen to be an A+ coordinator, that is a separate database, so you will have to register there as well. And so that is on the A+ page. So let us know if you need to know where those are, and we can point them out to you at any point. I want to do a quick overview of our academic contests, because since in the last 8 to 10 years, we've changed things quite a bit. We're no longer just the spring meet events, which are really the basics of the academic contests and where everything was based. So these are held during March, April, and May, typically. This is the district academic spring meet. These are the main events that you may know about. But then we have all of our other events that are held outside of the district academic meet. So you can look in your coordinator's manual, which we'll talk about in a second, for a synopsis of each of these. But just running quickly through these, this is during the district meet. You'll see all of those are our, I'll call them just basic, our spring meet academic events. We have a lot of our general academic events, which we're calling, which is our business and our ELA and our history events. And then we have all our events where we have an assistant director who takes care of all those activities, such as journalism, speech, our STEM events, and theater. You'll also see this is how we have these categorized on our website as well by their general discipline. And we'll get to that here in a minute. But then we have all of these other events that are not included in the district meet. A lot of times these are not as well, I would say, attended, or we don't have near as much participation in these. So they're great things for you to know about and for you to make sure that you're getting those students entered into these events. I really want to focus on our essay competitions, the Barbara Jordan and the Latino History Essay Contest, which we will have a session during this Capitol Conference about these two contests. These are fantastic events that since they're not connected to another event, we don't have a whole lot of participation in these compared to the number of kids who enter, say, the number sense contest at the district level. There's not a lot of things you have to do other than find some students to do these, help them out, get them submitted, and everything is done electronically after that. We have all of our ILPC, which is our journalism events for yearbook, newspaper, and broadcast. Lots of stuff to do that. A lot of our bigger schools participate in those, but that is open to any any of you who want to, who have a great journalism program, they do have separate membership fees for ILPC, but talk to Jeannie or let us know if you have more information about that. One of the newest events in speech is our Congress contest, which is held in the fall with the state Congress happening in January. It's one of our greatest events that we have added, I think, as well as robotics. We have best and first robotics at this point. In fact, we just finished the first state robotics competition last week. So, and then of course in theater, we have our theatrical design and our young filmmakers contest. Some of our numbers were down in these events this year just because of the craziness going on. So hopefully that you will get your theater people on board and get some entries in these competitions as well. And then of course we have our Academics A+ program for our grades 2 through 8 that you should know about at some point if you don't, and get some of your elementary and middle schools involved. A lot of people say, how do I find something? We have this resource. It's the High School Academic Coordinators Manual. There is the link to it. It's also linked to on our handbooks and resource page. And we will, basically this session is kind of an overview of the Coordinators Manual. And if you do our 101 session, which we're going to schedule at some point in October, we will really just basically walk through this manual for everything that we have going on in all of our events there. So let's talk about some rule changes, because that's why a lot of you are here. So LD debate, this actually started this year. We were on our way of trying to do some research as to how many people actually entered for contestants, and I didn't ever follow up on that, so I can't tell you right now. But this was a new rule. It mimics sort of what we do in cross-examination debate. But if you do not have if there are fewer than 8 debaters entered at the district contest and you have a full slate of contestants, you can enter a 4th contestant in that event. So that's LD debate. We also do that in CX debate, where you can add an extra team in that event also. So hopefully if you didn't already know about this and you were able to take advantage of it, I mean, if you didn't know about it, you do now, so make sure you work on it to take advantage of it and move forward with that. New this year will be the first time that we award sweepstake points for the outstanding presiding officer at state Congress. This is a position that gets elected. A lot of times they don't necessarily, these students are busy presiding the entire meeting. So this was something that came out of our advisory committee and passed the council last October, and goes into effect this August 1st. So we do give points for Congress at state meet, and you'll get 10 additional sweepstakes points if you have an outstanding PO. This sort of gives the same thing as a best performer in one act play, which would get the same amount of sweepstakes points. And then in our A+ science contest for grades 6 through 8, we have an event structure change. In that, it'll be one test for all grades, and that will be for 6 through 8. We used to have a test 1 for grade 7 and a test 2 for grades 8. So we're going to open this up to 6th through 8th graders, have one test. It'll be very similar to what we currently do in high school. So those are our new things that are happening this year. Going on to some things that are going to be moving forward, just so you're kind of in the know, because this all happened last week, is we're going to have a change in computer applications at our council meeting this June. There was a vote by the Standing Committee on Academics to phase out our current computer applications contest over the next 3 years. So I'm going to give you a little history of this, because I know this is a hot button issue for some of you. Is computer applications, it was before I came to UIL, so it was over 10 years ago. There was a huge think tank meeting about this contest. What can we do? What do we need to do? That's when the rule came out that you have to have a coach that grades that contest, or your students could be disqualified. And then there weren't many other changes that were made. Then we started getting several requests from coaches who said, our district isn't renewing our Microsoft Office license because we don't use it anymore. How do we do this? We have a lot of districts that are adopting Google Chromebooks, and they don't necessarily have a printer that can plug in, and all sorts of other things that were going on. So we did a 3-year study on this contest. So that revealed over the last 10 years, this contest had steadily declined in participation. And in 2019, there was only 38% of the people who could participate in this contest that did. Our lowest other general academic event was at 72%, which happened to be ready writing. So this is a lot. So we did a big thing, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, in during Capitol Conference, about a think tank about what can we do to encourage people to participate in this competition. One of the biggest things that came out were group points, team points, make a team out of it. And so comparing it to ready writing, it's the same. There's 3 people who can enter. There's no team points. So that was part of the results that we reported in our results report for this competition, for our study that we did. So through all of that, we did a superintendents. The council said last October they wanted to survey the superintendents. So that's what happened. So out of all of those results, that's where this came out of. We did a lot of talking to school districts who do not compete in computer applications, or schools, and we're asking, what can we do to get people to participate? And the biggest thing was the BIM class, Business Information Management System classes are no longer required. Sorry, they are offered at some of your schools. But through that, because those are no longer offered, that's what this entire contest was built around. We just had a lot of people who were no longer interested in participating in it. So I don't know what we will do, if we will replace computer applications. That's not been in the works. So we're certainly going to listen to you and see what you want to do. Access seems to be the biggest issue we have with computer applications, because you can't do it on a Mac computer. You have to have, there's not a lot of software to do that, and access was always one of the big components of the contest that you use. So we'll follow along. We're going to take your lead, all of you out there in the public, as to what contest do you want to do. You know, what can we do? What's important? What's not offered in another business contest that we need to offer here? So we will, but we're going to do, the council wants to do over 3 years, so it'll last at least through 2024. And that is to allow those students who participated this year, if they participate as a freshman, to have a full 4 years of opportunity to participate in computer applications. Also coming up in October will be a proposal that will ban contact strikes and one-act play. That's like slaps, kicks, hits to the face and head during the competition, basically to encourage everyone to use stage combat information. So that will be one of those things that we follow along and get a lot more information. But the council was very big on this year. So I'm sure we will have a new rule that comes out of that in October. Probably won't go into effect until the following year, but just so you're aware of it. Here are the items that the standing committee instructed us to study moving forward this year. And one of them is to increase entries at team events in all team events at the district level. So one of the things that we've looked at that I want to get some feedback and just let you know, and so that you can kind of percolate on this and give us some feedback, is all of the events that have a team competition component of it, current issues, social studies, accounting, all the math and events. We are looking at the possibility, what we really want to look at is, if we allow each school to enter up to 6 contestants at the district level on each of those events. This would mimic what we currently do in science. And then as far as advancing, it would be the exact same structure that we currently do. The top 3 individuals, and then the top 4 scorers from that school would be the team, comprise the team component of it. So we'll see what happens, but I'm very interested in hearing some of your feedback. This would be a district level opportunity. This would have to be approved or voted on by each district executive committee, because it's going to depend on if you have one of those giant districts with 12 schools in it. You may not have the space or want to do 6 students in each event. So we'll see what happens there, but that's kind of what we're going to study. So you'll be hearing more about that, and trying to just give you more opportunity to enter more students in these events and have more participation. Another thing we're studying is expanding the divisions or the conferences in film, which that was the proposal that was written, but also theatrical design, possibly the essay contest, robotics. Currently, all of these, except essay has one, everybody enters and it's one event. So 1A through 6A compete against each other. Currently in film, theatrical design, and robotics, we have 2 divisions. We have a 1 through 4A division and a 5A, 6A division. So we're looking at how can we do to divide this up to allow, will it give us an increase in participation, especially at the smaller schools in our 1A and 2A schools, if they're not having to compete against the 4A students in some of these events. So I'd be very interested in your feedback as to expanding those conferences and divisions, and would that encourage more participants in these events? I think we have enough going on. This year we had a dip, of course, in participation, but we were on a road to being able to do this without much. But we're going to study this and see what comes out of this. One of the things that we're possibly going to progress out of the pandemic is removing the requirement for one-act play critiques following the awards announcement. This was one of those things where we changed the schedule and allowed people to do. It was incredibly popular by both the one-act play companies and the judges and the officials, the contest managers. So we're going to do some talking with a lot of the theater people. Feel free to throw this out there to them as well. Give me some feedback on it. But right now, the rule requires that the awards have to be announced before the critiques can be given to the companies. So we're looking at all sorts of, basically leaving it up to each of the site. You can do it immediately following, sometime before awards, or even after the awards. So that's just another idea that we're studying. And then also adding REC, the REC Foundation Robotics to UIL. They used to be called VEX Robotics. It's just actually another robotics platform. What I was we were talking about how do you compare this to something? And it's sort of like you have the mile relay, the 800 relay, and the whatever other relay and track. They're all track events. These are all robotic events. So we're going to do some more studying. There's a lot of rural schools who are very involved in REC. So we're going to do a study to see where we can go with that and place that into possibly what we might do in the future. So anyway, I do see Rory's question in the chat box about, can districts decide this year to pilot the 6 centuries? And no, we're going to study it. We might do some trial of a study of some sort, but this was all new as of last week. So, but that's we'll see what we can come up with. So Roy, you keep emailing me and giving me questions or seeing what we can do to move forward with that. So good question though. All right, keeping on moving. And these are just some things that we're instructed to monitor. This means we don't have to give a report on them at the next council meeting. It's just some things that people have brought up that we think may have some viability or some interesting information that we need to just monitor and see where we go in the future. One of those is spelling and vocabulary, using a computer to do that competition. I think we have to keep up with technology at some point. I know we're not ready to go there right now. There's lots of issues with team events and the number of competitors and computer use, but I think we can't just throw this out and say we're not ever going to do it. One of the things I always tell the academic staff, many of you have heard this as well, is we have a whole generation of kids that we will be seeing in the next 5 years, maybe we already have them now, that have never colored with a Crayola and a coloring book. They've only used their iPad or some device that they've colored in. So how much longer can we keep kids interested in getting on a bus, riding for 2 hours to go take a paper and pencil test in all of our events? I know it's hugely beneficial and viable and perfect in some things, but there may be things where we can use computers. So this proposal just came from spelling and vocabulary specifically, but it's something we're definitely going to monitor and keep going on. Removing requirement for students to print a paper from a personal computer. This is basically saying we don't have to bring a printer with us to print the papers. Another one of those, it's a technology thing. So yes, it's something we need to monitor and need to see. Is there a way we can start saving these as a JPEG and forward them, or instead of having to do a paper printout? Those things are things we're going to monitor and keep looking at and seeing what we can do. And then allow internet use and extemporaneous speaking. Another one of those things where, I think we will get there at some point. And then, but is it just extemp? Do we need to look at all of our speaking events and all of those activities and things that we're doing? So just things we're monitoring, things that you know about. I just wanted you to know as you keep thinking about things, you have a lot of information. So as you have ideas, thoughts, send them to us. All of these things that you just read on the last 3 slides, they were not UIL staff ideas. These are all proposals that came from people like yourselves in the public. So it's all there. Gerald asked about chess. And so yes, many of our A+ students love chess. It is an area we are currently monitoring. It wasn't something we talked about this thing, but yes, chess is one of those things. We didn't want to add another paper and pencil test to our high school activities. So what we're really looking at is what's the viability of doing a possible live in-person chess competition or anything else to that measure that we could do. So as you have ideas or thoughts or ideas, send those to us. Let us know, especially if you're a huge proponent of chess, because I know some of your kids love it and want to do it. And so we're certainly interested in doing that, and we're continuing to monitor that as well. So that's the big information and news of the big stuff. So one of the things I really want to get, and you can throw these ideas in the chat. If you don't want to throw it in the chat and you just want to email us, you do that. Send it to us. Do whatever you can to let us know what your thoughts are. But we all did, you especially as teachers, you had huge changes, and I'm sure there are some things that you may have made changes in your classes and how you taught and what you do that you go, that wasn't so bad. I need to keep that, or I'm going to keep that around. I think there's going to be the same thing that we see in academic events, is where we had a lot of things that we changed, the way we did things. I think maybe that's where like a lot of those things we're monitoring as computer use and not printing your essays or whatever came, are those things, what are things do we need to keep going? What developed this year that you would love to see stick around? What did develop? What can we do to change that? What do we need to consider for the future to continue to progress forward? We can't let the last 2 seasons we can't just go back and do everything we've always done in the past. There's things we need to grow on, I think. And those because you're sitting there in the middle of the battlefield. So what really worked and didn't work. For me personally, I'm just going to share with you, one of the things that I loved this year that we did was so many of you coordinators and coaches, you stepped up and you had to run not only your district meet, but you had to run those region meets and then those state meets. And I know it was crazy and we were doing all sorts of different things, but it was so refreshing and so great that we didn't show up at a college campus and have somebody who only does this once a year or doesn't even really want to be doing it, that we're trying to run and be in charge of the meet and decipher what the rules are and all of that sort of stuff. So that's one of the things I know I'm really hoping that we can keep around, is keeping coaches more involved. I was talking to one of my good friends who is a region host at one of our college campuses. And we were talking about, the whole changes and doing that sort of thing. And he said, I would love to be able to open my campus, host, reserve the rooms, and then just be there and show people how great my campus is, rather than having to go tell some coach or student that they were disqualified, or that's not what we do, or dealing with all the conflicts that come along with that. And so some of you know how that goes, but we really want to keep the coaches involved more, keep you running those meets even at the region level, and you just stepping in and being a part of that, like so many of you did this year. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for making that possible, because even in our 26 hubs at the state meet, so many of you just jumped in there and made it possible. And it really was one of our years that we had the least amount of complaints about how things were handled, issues at the contest site, things that weren't handled correctly, or the answer keys being passed out, the thousands of other things that were happening. So thank you very much for doing that, and all of those sort of things. I'm just kind of monitoring the chat box here and make sure I'm not missing anything so important. So it was great. So thank you for doing that. So as you have things that please let me know. Let us know. Shoot them to us. Tell us what you love, what you didn't love, what you want to see, what happened, but this would be better if we did it this way, because we want to move forward and make that great. So, and we will get there, hopefully. So let's talk about why UIL academics, and sort of get into some of the meat and grit of this, and some duties of your job, and all that we have going on. So what I love about doing academics and why we do UIL and all that we do is because it is truly what you're putting a lot of things together, and kids are going to know what they did last weekend when they went on some practice meet or the district meet or to the state meet with you, and all of the things that you taught them about that. It's not just how to do quick solutions in number sense. You're teaching them about life, about how to socialize, how to behave when they go to restaurants, all of these things that are fantastic. They are that's why we do this, and hopefully that's how you encourage coaches to be a part of that, and you recruit coaches, because you're getting to work with the very best students who love reading novels and books and doing extra study, and this is there where they get to shine. So it's a great opportunity to do that. So thanks for doing that. I grew up in a very small school. UIL was the heart and soul of the whole community, and it's because of great coaches and teachers like yourselves who are willing to go do things on weekends and spend all this extra time with kids that I realized that I didn't have to work in a feedlot or pump gas for the rest of my life, that I could go to college. I went to college campuses and saw things and was like, hey, I could make it here. And I got scholarships to do that. And that's what you're doing for kids, that hopefully you're training the future coordinator of director of academics for UIL in the future. So thanks for doing that, and all that you do, and making it possible. Before we get into that, I know of some other stuff that in the chat box. If you have a region site that you're wanting to, how we do region sites really is, anybody who's willing to host a region site, we take them up on it, basically. We try to find a region site that's sort of central to the region, as much as we possibly can, that we can work with somebody there that has the facilities and the space to do what we need to do, and who will just have us. There's not a giant line of people who are lined up going, hey, we want to host your region meet. As many of you do, there's not a giant line of people willing to host the district meet. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that have to be done. So if you have an idea of a place, a location, and even better, if you have someone who we could contact, that's what we need. And that's how we get region sites going, and how we can find out who's there. And yes, we have a lot of comments about returning state to Austin. Yes, I hope we don't ever have to do 26 hub events again, sites for a state meet. We love getting everyone together. It's such a great thing. Hopefully we can do that in Austin. And Austin's not always where we have to go, we can do it somewhere else, hopefully. So, but our plan is to come back to Austin. It's looking like UT is going to let everybody in. We're going to have sort of open wide up in the fall. So we're totally planning on state meet being in Austin next year in May. So it was, hopefully we can make that all happen. So I'm still trying to monitor the thing going on. So we will keep on going. So let's talk about some things that you need as a coordinator to keep going and all that you need to do. Vital contest resources. These are your 3 must-haves. So we're going to talk about each of those individually, just so you kind of know what they are, and we have more details. So the website, this is your go-to location for everything. Make sure your coaches know about this. You can go to that uiltexas.org, go to the academic homepage, and then you see down there where we have things in brackets. So like contests are all the general academic contests that sort of I oversee, that don't necessarily have an assistant director who takes care of those individually. So you can go to the link there for contests and see all of those. Then you see all of our areas that are grouped by the area. So we have theater, journalism, speech and debate. If you go to speech and debate, you'll see debate, extemp, and oral interp, and all of those things that happen there. Same thing with A+. You'll see those things there as those expand out. Each of these websites are very important. There's great information on there. If we have changes, we have updates, we'll put it on there. But specifically, what you'll want to know is social studies and literary criticism reading lists. So if you've gone to sleep, it's time for you to wake up and pay attention to this very important announcement that just got released late last night and today. We have had a change in our literary criticism novel from what we released earlier in the year. We originally had released Pudd'nhead Wilson, and that has now changed to The Great Gatsby. So that the literary criticism reading list has been updated. If you already bought your books, I don't think they were very much, hopefully, if you bought them from TEP. However, don't throw them out. Hang on to them, because we want to do Pudd'nhead at some point. But for this year, we have made the switch to Great Gatsby. It should be a book that's readily available at your school if funding is an issue. That's one of the reasons we picked it. It's also a great novel for our times and everything that's going on in the world post-pandemic. So be sure you're aware that the literary criticism reading list has changed as of today. So that's going up there. I'll put some more info out. We'll do some big publicity stuff going out in the future, but make sure you're aware of that. Social studies list has not changed. It's still the same thing that it was. So we have added some more links to that, and the contest director continues to update that as when we get in there. I think he's pretty close to being done if he's not. So on current issues and events, you will find the date ranges for the tests. So like Invitational A will cover a certain amount of dates. Because of the way we do printing and publishing and mailing a lot of our events, we're not, because the CINE tests, they're not going to be tested on things that were happening last week, except for maybe at the state meet, where that's a much easier thing since we don't have to mail that one out. So look on that website for your date ranges for your tests. Also, so the spelling, make sure you get the word power that's on the spelling list. It's downloadable for free. And also science, make sure you know what the physics novel is. We have the novel that the students can read for physics. And then there's also usually memos from each of the contest directors on the science side. There may be other specific things. I don't know if other people know things that you get off the website that I'm not specifically pointing out, but those are some of the things I was looking up and seeing what's going on up there and how we have that change. So, and Andrea, yes, the social studies list, we will fix the ISBN and all that stuff on the website there. So, and I know there's a question about why was the literary criticism novel changed. It was a specific request of the contest director that we changed that. So we talked through it a lot, and I completely agree with why he was wanting to change it. So we're going to change it. So it'll be good. And moving on to resources. So if you go down to that link, you drop down, there's going to be some important things that you get there. One of them is handbooks and manuals, and you can click that link and you will find a handbook for every single event. The academic coordinator's manual is there. If you happen to be the district meet director, that manual is there. And then one of the things, the page that you're going to be interested in as a coordinator is your academic coordinator's resources page. Have a lot of information for you, specifically for coordinators. If there's anything on there that we can help with and ask with, let us know. If there's things that are missing that you'd like to see on those pages, please let us know that as well. So that's your resource page. Contains lots of information that you're going to want to know and need as a coordinator. So here's our that's a direct link to the handbook page. We have manuals, handbooks for every event. We update those every year. We've pretty much got most of them updated now. There's not a lot of changes we're doing this year in many of them. So make sure you're aware of them. Make sure your coaches know. We have those written for coaches, coaches and contestants and contest directors. So everybody knows what's there and how to do it, hopefully. And so that everybody's getting the same information. One of the things you have to do is order study materials, or you'll want to order study materials. These are all available on the online store. We have the online store updated with all of last year's tests. And then we also have an archive of tests for most events that date all the way back to 2012, I believe. It may be further than that now, I can't remember. But anyway, they're all there. Some of our like accounting, number sense, calculator, science, all of those tests are great study materials for you to have previous year's tests. Even though we have a new test every year, that it's still very much kids get to kind of get an idea of what's there. Even on current issues and social studies, and some of those events that we change annually, literary criticism, it's still a great value to have those so your students kind of see the format and layout and types of questions that are asked. Even though they wouldn't use those specifically for study, it's really good to know sort of the tests that is there. All of these are digital formats. They're downloadable PDFs. When you set up your account in the UIL store, you can either pay by credit card when you do that, or you can save your cart, print it out, turn it into your business office. They can create a purchase order, and as soon as UIL gets payment or they get the purchase order number, the finance department will release your cart to you, and you'll get links to all the PDFs. So anyway, the 2020 resources notes, just a note about that, because we didn't release all of the tests last year, so some of those are incomplete. So you may have only the invitationals and a district test on some of those events on the 2020. But for 2021, you should have everything in there on the study materials. There's also a lot of additional study materials. So if you go down there and you click on the additional resource vendor page, this is where you're going to find a lot of the vendors who create study materials for all of our contests. It's very important for you to know that we do not review these materials. We do not endorse them. We don't know who has the best. If somebody sends us an email and says, here's my link, I provide study materials for your contest, we just put it up there. So make sure you're checking out who those are, what they are. Check with your friends that are successful to find out kind of what they do or what they feel is the best. And so that's kind of how all that works. We really I have no idea who's there. In fact, when I was talking to Mark about the Lit Crit novel, he was like, we should contact those vendors. I was like, you're gonna have to do that because I don't even know who does resources for literary criticism. So, but they're there. They're great for use for lots of people, and there are various things that they give a lot more up-to-date and current research information than you're going to get from us just having a previous test. So use those if you can. All right, we're going to move into some stuff about academic meets, and I will buzz through a lot of this. So, and I'll go into much more detail when I do my one-on-one meet, but I just kind of want to cover some hot topics that we cover each year in all of these academic meet areas. Let's talk about invitational meets. So I love to ask this during student activities conferences about how many district track meets does your school go to? And there's inevitably someone who always says, and that when I ask that question, oh, like 10 track meets. And I go, they go to one district track meet, just like you go to one district academic meet. All of those other Fridays and Saturdays, those kids are gone. Those are invitational track meets. So I highly encourage you not to make the district meet the first time you put your students in the ready writing relay contest and make them sit there for 2 hours and write an essay, a ready writing a paper in a testing situation. Do what you can to get to invitational meets. Some of them are very cheap. Some of them they travel to. We even have some that are virtual now. And so I suspect a lot of that will grow in interest and importance. Those are the virtual meets are great and they're fantastic, especially if you had kids who are showing animals and running track and playing tennis, and they just don't have another Saturday to give up to you to go to travel somewhere to do a practice meet. However, I highly encourage you to do what you can to get those students in that testing pressure situation where they're in a room with someone else giving instructions that it's not you, and it's a room full of competitors. So it's a totally different experience when you put them in that testing environment. So we did a survey. It's been a long time ago. We need to redo it. But some of our most successful schools that continuously do that, they went to a minimum of like 3 invitational meets to get their kids prepared. And that's how they pared down their team to their 3 or 4 students that they entered, was by how well those students did at those invitational meets. So on our website, we have a page, and as people let us know they're doing invitational meets, we put those on there. It's categorized by month. You don't have to get an invitation in the mail or email to go to those. Once you see those posted, just email whoever's there, or they'll already have how to register for my meet. Most of people are hosting these invitational meets as a fundraiser. They're going to be happy to take your money. So make sure you do that. And if you have any questions about those as you go along, don't hesitate to let us know as we get through the year and you have questions about it. We'll be happy to do that. So let's talk about planning dates and sites, which hopefully if you haven't already done that, you're getting ready to do that. And those of you who are here on this call, you may be the one person who's the most informed of anyone in your district. So it may be you who needs to kind of get the ball rolling as the year gets started about having a district organizational meeting. Typically, these are in August or September. And you want to do it as early as you can. You want to make sure all the schools in your district are invited. It really helps if you can get the theater people and the speech people involved, but particularly those coordinators, and all of you are talking about dates so that you don't set the by district or the district one act play contest on the date you're trying to do your academic meet. We have the one act play date backed up again to, I think it's Thursday before that weekend, so that we shouldn't be having one act plays on the only Saturday that we can have the district meet. That's our goal anyway. So recommend those dates and locations to your district executive committee. That's what the purpose of the meeting is. The DEC is the one who ratifies all of your dates and locations, and work around everything that you can and to make sure it's there. The restriction for OAP is the date that I was talking about, but it will take somebody like you to get this meeting going. And I highly encourage you to do it in May at some point. Make sure when we have all new districts to kind of get some dates going and locations going so that you figure out who is going to host that district meet. And you have it in a location of somebody who wants to do it and where it is possible that they have the facilities and the great stuff to do it. We have a lot of questions about when are our district dates. Excuse me. So events with confidential materials must be held during the 1 week that's designated. That's that 1 week in March. And we have a lot of confusion with this every year. Speech events may be held during that week, but they may also be held during a second week of that week. We do this so that judges can be available. A lot of times that will fall during Easter. It does not this year. But it is also the same week as area one-act play competition. So you want to make sure you're working around all of those so you don't have any of those conflicts. But basically, district speech can be held over a 2-week period. The general academic, all the other academic events must be held during the 1 week time period. One-act play has that certification deadline of when district and by-district must be completed, and one-act play can happen anytime before that date, so that you know what's going on there, and you are aware of when those dates are, and you can inform your people. So, excuse me. Let's talk about the DEC right quick, because we always ask questions. Who is that? So your principal or superintendent, depending on what size school you are, maybe it's your athletic director. Somebody is the voting member for your campus. Every campus in a district has a vote on all the decisions that get made about how the district need is handled. So be sure you know who that person is. Go to them and volunteer to bring back information to the DEC, or that you would like to host the planning meeting, and get their blessing. Let them know, find out who it is. No one's going to say you shouldn't do it. Usually they're very happy somebody's going to report on it, because most of the time the DEC doesn't understand or know what needs to happen for the academic planning. They're too busy dealing with previous participation, athletic forms, and all sorts of other stuff that's on their plate. So anytime we can help them with the academics and one-act play information, they're going to be great. They are the ones who verify all the dates. And if you miss the planning meeting, or you don't know in the fall and we get in there, all of that information can be obtained from your administrator, or contact us and we'll get you in contact with one of the coordinators in the district. We at UIL usually don't find out that information as to when your district meet's being held until the meet is set up in the system. And the deadline for the meet director to do that isn't until February 1st. So sometimes they get set up early, but a lot of times we don't know who those are. So just as you know, everybody's in a district. It'll look like this. There's an official district alignment for academics. Make sure you know where that is and how to find it, so you know what schools are in your district. We did have a few changes. We're not in a realignment year, so your district won't change drastically, but we did have a few schools that added for academic competition this year. So make sure you're aware of who all those are. If you did district last year and you're going to organize that this year, just double check that list to make sure you have everybody on there, and a contact for every school. And if you don't, contact us and we'll get that for you. It's important to know that A+ districts are not assigned by this alignment. A+ districts you can organize your own as that goes. Let's talk about the conflict pattern for a few seconds. Always a great topic. The academic conflict pattern was developed in 1985. It was a response to no pass, no play, and lots of school time. And it was, how can we do all of the academic need in one day? So that's what the conflict pattern is designed to do. It pits events that aren't necessarily usually conflicting against one another. We don't have a lot of students who do computer science and literary criticism. It's not always the case, but just as a general overview. It's also spread out, so like a journalism student can compete in all of the journalism events. A math and science student is able to compete in most of those events. So that's kind of how it's arranged. Because we have so many regions, we have some regions that have to compete their academic meet in one day because of facilities. We do mandate that this conflict pattern is followed at the region meet. So even if the schedule allows, a student cannot enter both number sense and ready writing, even if number sense starts at 8 and ready writing starts at 8:30, because that's not the case that it is. We try to be consistent for all 24 regions. So that's why we enforce this conflict pattern at region. Therefore, it has to happen at state. Just so you know all that information. It is not mandated at the district level. We highly encourage it. It helps can fix a lot of the confusion at the district meet. It also encourages you to use more students, but also know some of you are in schools that you have 15 kids who do everything. And if you didn't violate the conflict pattern, if you didn't not follow it at the district level, you wouldn't have students in as much stuff as you do. So that's why we allow you to do what you need to do. Here's a much more detailed version of the conflict pattern. So you see that there. And kind of each block, each square represents 30 minutes. That's about how long a test should take. And this is the grid option. We have it written. It's in the coordinator's manual. If you have any confusion about it, just don't hesitate to let us know. We're happy to help decipher that and help you figure that out as you go. So that's conflict pattern. Excuse me. Here's the meet entry procedures. So everything goes through for the district entries. These are those spring meet entries. We have an online entry system that you must enter your students in and put the names in. And this is how we use that to advance the students to the next level of competition. There's a version of it for CX debate. There's also a version of it for one act play. So there's instructions about how to use that system. It works. You just have to read the instructions and follow those. And those that are not in the traditional spring meet events, they have their own entry procedures. Those are outlined in their handbooks. Just check those out. Check the website. If you can't find something you need, or if you need any kind of assistance in any of that, do not hesitate to reach out to me or one of the academic staff members over any of those areas, and we will make sure that you are fully aware of what needs to happen so we get those kids entered and in those contests. Here's the instructions about how to go to the academic meet online entry system. The easiest thing is to go to meets and then drop down to the academic meet entry system. And that's how you get there. And the meet director will have those set up November 1st for CX or February 1st for academics. Before they get the meet set up, you won't be able to enter your students. Usually the entry deadline is 10 days before your meet. You do have to have an electronic ID from UT to enter that system. So if there are instructions on the web page there once you get there, how to get one of those if you don't. Also, if you've forgotten your password, how to get that and do all that information. So all air on that information. Entry for region and state. We have a lot of people who contact us about how do I register my kids for the region meet? You don't have to. Once you get them in the district entry system, they are advanced all the way through to the region level, and then those region results become the state entry meet. So after the district meet, anything you do in the online system is you don't have to do it anymore. So you just have to do it once and you're good. Quick note about substitutions, because this is always a big question, a hot topic every year. Substitutes can replace a no-show student already on the entry form. So you must have a student listed who you're going to substitute for. So if you have 3 students entered in literary criticism and you want to add a 4th, that's a late entry. You can only substitute for a student whose name is already on the entry form. Sub can be a certified eligible student already listed on the academics or one-act play eligibility, or it can be any eligible student in your school if you use the substitution form to substitute them. So easy to do there. That's the substitution form that you'll find in the academic coordinator's handbook, online, multiple other places. So all you need to do is fill this out. Down here, it has a signature place for designated administrator. And you, as the academic coordinator, are that designated administrator. Because when you enter people in that online entry system, it asks you to verify their eligibility. So that's what this form is doing, is you're just saying that student is eligible to compete, they're passing all their classes, and all the other things that require that. At region and state, the substitution thing sort of changes a little bit. So you can substitute for team events, and only if the original qualifying contestant cannot compete. So there is no requirement that had to be on the district entry form or that they had to compete at district. None of those rules apply. It is any eligible student at your school can substitute on your team. So we have a lot of questions about, and only one substitute is allowed. We have a lot of questions of, my baseball player can't go to our region meet, but if we qualify for state, can we sub that baseball player back on? You can, as long as one of your qualifying students is not eligible to compete. So those 4 students who competed at the region meet are the 4 that have qualified for the state meet. So we do this for several reasons. One of the reasons is that's the student who qualified. The other reason is it's to try to encourage those students to pick the event that they're going to be able to go to state in possibly, or the higher meet, because a lot of times it's conflicting with just an invitational baseball game, not even one that stands for district standing. So it's to protect you, also the students and all those that are competing. So just so you know, it's a big question that happens all the time. Verification results. Make sure that you are aware about verification, that you have your coaches attend verification, your students can attend verification. This is the time that you have after everything's graded, everything is entered into the online entry system for you to verify that it is correct. It is critical in catching all of these errors that can happen. There's so many stories I can tell you about issues about people missing verification that we could have an entire session on just that. Do not miss verification. If you do, you're giving up your chance to fix a grading error or a thing that has been entered incorrectly or anything else that's happened. So make sure you do that, because after those results are declared official, they cannot be changed. They're final. So this is your time to check that. There is a chance for you to request accommodations for your students who may have special needs, that may be 504, may have any kind of art, or even a special circumstance of they fell and they broke their arm at the a football game, and they're trying to type an essay and they can't, or they can't handwrite, I'm sorry, their essay, but they can type. Anything that will allow a student to compete with any kind of physical or mental impairment that will make it possible for them to compete, we try to allow that to happen. It goes through a committee. They try to make sure that there's not an unfair advantage for the student or a disadvantage, but we do anything we can so that that student is allowed to compete. The one thing that never gets approved is additional time. One of those things that we do with accommodations is it cannot change the fundamental process or rules of that competition. So additional time would do that. However, allowing a student to use an enlarged test who has a visual impairment, it does not. So a lot of that, we do a lot of visual accommodations, a lot of accommodations for dysgraphia and writing and that sort of thing. So do not be hesitant to put in your request for accommodations. Going over to, I see Stephanie, I see your question about are students supposed to be allowed to attend verification? So yes, we don't say that it's for coaches only, it's for coaches or students. So we don't have any rule against it or for it. So, but I would think a lot of times the students are the ones who can check those 4 papers a lot quicker than the coach. So if I got asked about it, I would say yes, students would be allowed. So, all right, going back to our theme, let's talk about a few strategies for success. What you can do to about your training and getting started and all of these things that we do. So student activities conferences in the fall. Of course, our main event for coaches is happening this week. We have a few things happening next week, and some of our theater stuff is happening in July. But this is it. Our goal is to attend at least 2 conferences, full in-person conferences in the fall of 2021. We typically do 4. We're having a hard time still getting confirmation from colleges and universities that yes, you can come on our campus, come here, do this, that sort of thing. If the things fall through that we're looking at, we may be hitting some of you up to do some of these conferences at your high school, if that's an option. I think things will open up, things will change later in the spring. That's our goal and our hope. But we're going to do multiple online and virtual options throughout the year. That is our goal. We did that in journalism last year. Jeannie did some really cool sessions. She even did them during school time. So like the journalism kids could get together and have sort of a field trip, field day, and and see some speaker. She also recorded them. There might have been like 20, 25 people during the school day, but she recorded them and posted them, and those were available, and they were hugely popular. So we hope that we can do that with all of our contest directors this year, is just have a quick little 30-minute tips and tricks for number sense or something, and have Larry White teach that, and make it possible and interactive for students. And now with Zoom and all the other platforms that are just so readily available to us, there's no reason we shouldn't be doing more of these outreach things. More reasons why we shouldn't be doing things with new coordinators and trying to keep everybody up to date and informed, and everything that we can do. Save June 21st and 22nd of next year for the Capitol Conference. We are going to do our best to have it in person at AT&T or anywhere else we can possibly find to do it, so that we can see you again and get back to our networking and celebrating that we've always done, and celebrate our all of you for our coaches, our academic sponsor excellence award winners, and all that we love to do in our summer conference. So that's where we have it tentatively earmarked for next summer. It would match similar to this week, similar to what we've always done. So just so you're aware and know about it. Those are some training opportunities. Let's talk about just kind of getting started. What's an overall view of what you need to do? Just recruit and sing your joys. And I love telling you that no one wants to be a part of something that's a problem. Everybody wants to be a part of something that's successful. You don't have to have won the overall state academic championship, which we should be announcing those TS, by the way, later today, or nowhere later than tomorrow. We're working on all of that from our robotics results last week. But you don't have to win the state championship in academics to have joys and successes and great things that happen. I mean, when student A finally makes a positive test on the number sense, a positive score on the number sense test, you should celebrate that like it's the end, they won the state championship. Find those great things. Always talk about how fantastic academics and things that you do. It is it's always great fun. So there's a lot of great things. There's so many more good things that come out of doing UL academics than bad things. So always talk about the good things. Let people know, because nobody knows if you're not telling them. If you're just getting started, focus on a few events or one of the contest areas or something. Don't try to do all 30 things. If this is your very first year, you're just getting started, you're trying to revive a program. Focus on a handful of things, some things you have coaches to do, and get good at those and get successful, build some momentum, and then the next year keep adding things. Attend those invitational meets. I can't stress to you how important it is that you get those kids out there and get them in that testing situation before they get to the district meet, and celebrate even the tiniest of successes that you have. Make your kids feel great, make your coaches feel great, let them know that you are the biggest cheerleader and motivator and positive being out there that's possible. So that's some of my greatest things I can give you about getting started. Things about staying successful. Just keep recruiting. You can never stop recruiting, whether it's students or coaches, and talking up the good stuff, and figuring out who would be fantastic for you to have on your team. Always keep finding new things and new people. As interest grows, fill every slot on your entry form. Even if you don't have someone who's willing to coach computer applications this year, figure out a way to get 3 students entered in there, and have 3 students entered in on that entry form at your district meet. In many of your districts, you're going to place first, second, and third, because there's not going to be a lot of people entered in that event, especially if people know we're going to phase that out. It's a great chance for you to score 30 sweepstakes points in an event if you don't have a district that's very active in that. Set goals for your team. If you've not ever won your district academic meet, set that meet to do that. Maybe it's a number of points. Maybe your goal is as simple as having at least one person in every single event in the academics this year. Whatever it is, make it achievable, make it measurable, set a goal for yourself and in your academics team, and making that good. It doesn't matter how successful you are or how good you've been, if you're not communicating that information and making sure people know about it, being a cheerleader for your people, advocating for your program, making sure they know it's going nowhere. So do everything that you can to get that information out, and just continually promote and sell the program about how great it is. So you can never talk it up enough, and let people know what's going on. One of the greatest benefits about academic activity, UL academic competition, is those students who qualify for state meet in so many of our things. There's some finalist things in some of our other outlying events that aren't in the general spring meet plan. But anytime a student has qualified for the state meet and participated in the state meet in their high school career, they're then eligible their senior year to apply for TLF scholarships. So I want to just thank you for all of you who did that final push this year. Last year we had a very low number of applicants. This year it was not looking very promising. And we did that last push, got some words out to you, and I mean, those applications flew in at the last minute, and thank you. I sat on that board for the foundation, and there's some important people on that board. And when they hear that there's 600 applicants that show up, it makes them smile, and they start giving more money. So anytime you have a student who qualifies for the state meet, make sure their senior year they are applying for those scholarships. So they're great. It's fun. It's a really huge benefit. They're not giving TLF scholarships for track, y'all. They're giving them for academic events. So make sure we keep that going, and keep your kids involved. All right, so we're gonna do a quick summary right quick. So we'll finish at 12:15, hopefully. So just so that you know, here's the essentials. Recruit those students and the coaches, get your study materials ordered, integrate your contests in the curriculum, everything's there. Attend your training opportunities. Find something new this week that you haven't ever gone to, and just go to that session and find out what that contest is about. Work with all of those coaches and directors and your prom organizers and everybody in your contest on your campus to avoid conflicts. And I cannot tell you again, celebrate your successes. It doesn't have to be a win. It doesn't have to be a championship. It's a success. It's what you've done. If you get on a bus and have 40 kids who sign up to go to your student activities conference this fall, celebrate it like it's an amazing accomplishment, and talk about all the great things that happen with those 40 kids who went. Know the rules. I can't stress this enough. You all are on this, so you probably do. Make sure your coaches know, make sure your students know what events have an approved calculator and does not. Just make sure that you get the handbooks out, make sure that you're networking with your colleagues, because we're only as good as our weakest link. So help your friends out. Help those other people out in your district. Do not be shy, and don't be afraid to ask for help, and never be shy about asking a UIL staff for assistance, ever. That's why we're here. The phone rings. It's like job security. Anytime you ask us questions on email, we're happy to help you out. We live in this. We put together the website and these books, and we will be able to tell you where something is in 2 minutes, maybe, hopefully, whereas you might spend 2 hours looking for it. So don't ever hesitate to just ask us where that is or where you can find out information, because that's why we're here, and that's why the staff exists, is to help you maneuver through this, and your coaches as well. And here's all of our information. And this is slide is in the online. This presentation is in the online thing. This is our slide. Email is by far the very best thing to contact us with. We can answer that anytime during meetings, when we're hearing about athletic things, when we're stuck in Austin traffic. And a lot of times, if you call us, we try to call you back and you're in the middle of class or anything else that's going on. So be sure you're aware of that, and don't hesitate to contact any of us at all, and we'll be there. So I think that's it. Yeah, I'll leave that up in case you want to write those down. I see the question about esports, and so esports are one of those things that it does keep coming up in council. Esports is not going to be considered an academic activity. It's coming. We're going to do esport at some point. I don't know that it's going to happen, in a year or two, but I'm assuming it will come along at some point. And but it will probably be similar to kind of what we're doing with Spirit and Cheer and some other things. It may live there, or probably another group will be running it, and it'll just kind of be UIL supported, kind of in the robotics realm, but not as attended as robotics, as we have a dedicated staff member taking care of robotics. But anyway, esports is there. It keeps coming up at council. It's not going to necessarily be an academic event, at least not at this point, hopefully. So that's it for the presentation. Hopefully you we answered a lot of your questions. Maybe we created some questions. Maybe you have information. Throw information in the chat box if you have anything. You know our email, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with us with any questions you have. So somebody asked about ready writing. So Ruben, our state director, he had a personal issue come up this week, so we had to postpone all of our ready writing sessions for this week. But we're going to just postpone them, and we will put them. We're looking when we can do those, either in July, or we may wait until the very early part of the fall to get those started. So we will make sure that we get those taken care of, and you'll get some ready writing stuff, and we'll get information out to you. So that is that. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box. We'll stick around. If you don't have any questions, you can jump off. And completing the see, how many hours does this count for? I would put 1.25 hours